Thank you for joining us this evening for our city council meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham,
Where is he?
Why don't we have Cheatham?
Here.
We've got him. We can hear him. We can't see him.
Oh, there he is.
There we go. There he is.
Warwick,
Here.
Mangum,
Here.
Mansfield,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Paulson,
Here.
Glad.
Here. Thank you. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, after which if you'd remain standing for the invocation, which will be offered by Pastor Jennifer Green, representing Rocky Mountain Ministry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer? Father God, thank you for our great nation and for the privilege our leaders have been granted to work on behalf of our beautiful city. As they convene, may there be a spirit of unity and purpose as they work together to bring good for our community. And I ask these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 3 is a consent agenda. The following business items may be approved by one motion and a vote. If any one member of the council so desires, any matter listed can be moved to a separate agenda item. A, material claims. Council may wish to approve the material claims for the period of January 1 through 15, 2025. B, Human Relations Advisory Committee reappointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's reappointment of James Wardle to continue serving as a member of the Human Relations Advisory Committee. James's term will begin January 8, 2025 and expire January 8, 2029. C, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board reappointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Darren Black to continue serving as a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Darren's term will begin January 20, 2025 and expire January 20, 2027. D, council decision rezone of 155 Willard. Council may wish to adopt its decision approving the request from Brandon DeFossis to amend the zoning designation of 155 Willard Avenue from commercial general CG to residential medium density single family RMS.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve agenda item number 3, the consent agenda items A through D.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Council President Lurick and a second by Council Member Paulson. Aubriana, can you please call the roll?
Warwick,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, proclamations. We have no proclamations, so we'll go to agenda item 5 is a calendar review. Council may wish to take this opportunity to inform other council members of upcoming meetings and events that should be called to their attention. On February 6, 5:30 p.m., a clarification meeting. 6 p.m. will be a regular city council meeting. February 13, 9 a.m. will be a city council work session. Other events, January 18, Ski for Free Day at Mink Creek Nordic Center, sponsored by ICCU Parking, trail passes, rentals, and mini lessons will be free from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Rentals will be offered at a first-come, first-served basis and will be available in 2-hour time slots. January 20, city offices will be closed to observe Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Garbage and recycle pickups will remain on schedule. January 23, 5:30 p.m., City Council Chambers, open house for public input regarding a proposed skate park design and features. Applications for the 2025 Pocatello's Promise of Tomorrow Mayoral Scholarship for Students program are now being accepted through February 28. As a reminder to keep the sidewalks clear of snow and ice, when cleaning sidewalks and driveways of snow, please do not place the snow in the streets. It becomes a driving hazard. Okay, we will move to agenda item 6, taxi cab license denial appeal Sneed. Terry Sneed will be present to appeal the denial of his taxi cab license, which was denied by the Pocatello Police Department. Terry.
I think
Hey, I'll go ahead and take it and pass it around. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Terry Sneed.
Good evening, Terry.
I've come before you today to appeal the results of my tax license decision. I have a felony and was refused a license. My felony was an exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and I also had a misdemeanor for abuse and neglect of a vulnerable adult of financial nature, dealing with the same felony. What I was accused of using was a participant's debit card for personal reasons. What happened was I had the participant's debit card on my Amazon and DoorDash accounts. They requested to use my account to remove shipping fees for things they would order, and they would order something once or twice a month on Amazon, and the reduced delivery fees from ordering on DoorDash. When monthly fees or my own orders would go through my own card and would be declined, Amazon and DoorDash both would go through the cards I have on file until one works. When I would realize this would happen, I did repay the participant with cash, but never asked for a receipt. The payee for the participant noticed this was happening and brought charges against me for the discrepancies, including the participant's own orders, because they were on my account. I ultimately pleaded guilty because I had no proof, took the deal the prosecution had offered. I received the sentence of 5 years of probation, time served for 2 weeks in jail, and to pay fees and restitution. I had paid off all fees and restitution within a year, and I did not have issues while on low supervision probation. My probation officer petitioned me to get removed from probation early and succeeded. I brought with me the owner of the taxi company, Scott Pash Kimball, that I have been working for to speak in my defense if allowed. Now, I did take advantage of a hectic situation and told him I did get a license when I actually hadn't. I continued that ruse mainly because I was embarrassed of my criminal history and I knew I wouldn't qualify for the license. I know this was wrong. With the help I was providing to both the company and to the customers, that this kind of would balance out the scales. I was a model employee and never called out, worked above and beyond my limits, all without a complaint against me by the customers. I still don't believe it was right, and I'm not trying to justify my actions at all. I finally went to get my license, knowing what would happen and that Patch would find out. I wanted to bring myself before you to you and hopefully be granted a little mercy. I love the job by driving around all day, taking customers where they need to go, helps people and gives them a sense of accomplishment. I know the things I've done are not good, but I'm hoping that you'll see beyond that to the person I really am. I anxiously await your decision.
Thank you. Any questions for Terry? Okay, Councilmember Mansfield.
you said that you initially began operating without the taxi license and then eventually decided to go get it. Was there something that prompted you or an event that instigated that process of going to get your license?
It came down to both Sonia Kimball and Patch were both going and working with Mallory, trying to get everybody's license organized for the new year.
Councilmember Mangum.
I'm reading here and it says that when you realized that the charges were coming off of someone else's card but not yours, what was the time frame there? When did you finally realize?
It happened over several times, and every time it happened, I did pay the participant back in cash. But all the payee saw was these discrepancies where Amazon and DoorDash were going through his account.
Councilmember Nichols.
So did the holder of the credit cards, do they acknowledge that you had paid them back, or were they the ones that filed the complaint? I'm not clear on that.
Unfortunately, he's developmentally disabled and didn't quite understand. He thought the cash he was getting was his own, which technically it was. He just didn't know that it was because of that issue. he didn't understand that.
So who pursued the charges against him?
The payee.
Well, I'm saying,
The participant's payee.
all right, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Mangum?
So what was your relationship to this person? Because it's not clear here in what you wrote or how you would.
I was working for a company and working in their house with them.
Okay, so what was the nature of the work in the house?
It's basically to reintegrate them to the community as much as possible of what their capabilities are. We take them out shopping, we teach them how to shop, take them out to the community, interact with the community. A lot of the participants do have problems with working or being in the community at large because they are afraid of it, because they were abused when they were children or anything of that sort when they were younger because of their handicap.
So the representative payee, were they ever in attendance with your operation with this person?
No, they were 3 states away.
Okay, so if I can proceed, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
How many people did this happen to? Was it just the one? Was there multiples?
It was just the one.
Just the one.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Council President Lyric?
I was just wondering if you could say, it just went out of my head again. Sorry. I was trying to think what I wanted to ask you. I'll see if I can get it back.
Okay, we can
You
maybe.
go ahead.
Councilmember Nichols?
So all total, how much money are we talking about here?
The reason was a felony because it was over $1,000. The total restitution was $1,568 and some change.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I know what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about why you pled guilty. I understand you're saying that that person had trouble understanding why you were giving him cash.
Correct.
But if you knew you had paid him, why would you plead guilty?
Because I had no proof, I did not get a receipt from him stating that, I'm paying him back for a card that, a charge that went on his card due to my error. And that's the whole reason why I have no proof. All the evidence is on their side, not mine.
Could you ask them to talk to him and ask him if he received cash from you? Or
And
do you
like-
think he would not remember that? Or?
Oh, he remembered he got cash. He just thought it was his own for his own spending money that they would get every week.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Councilmember Paulson?
I do sympathize with what you're saying because every Sunday I actually take a very similar adult out for activities, meals, etc. So I do believe you, and I want to believe you. Do you promise this was truly a mistake?
This was truly a mistake. I never meant any ill will toward him. And like I said, every time I noticed, oh crap, that fee went over on his card. Here's the $15.99 for the fee, or my order went through on his card. Oh, here's what was. So, like I said, thought he was getting spending money for the week.
Okay, Councilmember Mangum?
So your statement here is that DoorDash and Amazon, you had multiple cards on file, and so they would just run multiple cards until it came to a card that worked.
That is correct.
Okay. And so what prompted you to say, this didn't pass through my account?
Because nothing was taken off my card at that time. So I went to review his card, saw that, because I did have access to his card information because we have to keep a balance. And I went, oh crap, that went through. So that's the reason I would pay him.
Okay. Good.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll have Mallory come up and.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Mallory Bascom, Pocatello Police Licensing. I denied Mr. Sneed's application for a taxi license in accordance with City Code 5.56.050 subsection E, which states that applicants must possess a criminal record free from conviction for any felony or for any crimes involving moral turpitude or violence or possession or sale of any controlled substances. Upon examining Mr. Sneed's criminal history, I found that in April of 2024, he was convicted of one count of felony financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult over $1,000, stemming from charges that were initially filed in November of 2022 for incidents spanning from October of 2020 to May of 2022. According to the report, during that time, Mr. Sneed was working as the supervisor of staff and operations for Mentor Idaho, which is an organization that specializes in providing around-the-clock care for vulnerable adults with disabilities that prevent them from living on their own. The report indicated that Mr. Sneed had used the able debit cards of 2 residents of the home to make several payments on personal accounts for purchases at various businesses and for multiple food deliveries from local restaurants in excess of $4,000. The funds on the able debit cards come from federal and state benefits received by the residents of Mentor, Idaho. Ultimately, Mr. Sneed was given a 15-day sentence, which was credited for time served and 5 years supervised probation. And in the court documents I reviewed, it indicated that there was a restitution hearing that had been vacated, but Mr. Sneed spoke to that and said that he was given restitution payments. The payments, according to the report, were made to several locations, including Chad's Rentals, Tea Time Financial, and other streaming or entertainment services. Purchases were made at several local businesses as well as some online businesses, while the majority of the charges were made for DoorDash orders. As Mr. Sneed mentioned, he had been driving taxi without a license, and this application actually came under review. This application review came into place because Sonia Kimball from Rides R Us had reached out to me to find out whether all of their employees had renewed their taxi licenses for the year. When she asked me about Mr. Sneed, I was unable to locate any City of Pocatello taxi license for him ever. I also checked and did not find any records that he had held a taxi license in Chubbuck. He was adamant that he had previously been licensed, and according to Sonia, he had been driving for the business for some time at that point. My understanding is that at that point, they had taken his word for it that he had been licensed, although he never had physical proof of that. And I do think it's worth mentioning that since then, Rides R Us has rectified and has now requested copies of all of the licenses, and they will get those going forward. And Mr. Sneed was forthright about this conviction on his application. He's had no previous convictions, felony or misdemeanor for any similar charges. And I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Councilmember Mangum.
Mr. Sneed had said that there was just the one victim in this incident, but your records are showing that there were 2?
Yeah, according to the report, there were 2 residents of Mentor, Idaho cards used.
Okay. And his recollection was $1,500-ish, and the report is showing over 4,000?
That's what the total of all of the charges that were brought into question on the report were.
Okay.
Questions?
I have more questions for Mr.
Okay,
Sneed.
let's get through Mallory first. Councilmember Mangum again.
So what spurred this whole situation here is he had stated to the employer that he was licensed for taxi, and then they did an audit, and now this is where we are, correct? So he had been driving for a while without.
My understanding is that he had told his employers that he had passed the background check and got a license, and then this year, when it came time for all of them to renew, all of the licenses for taxi expire at the end of December. So when it came time to renew, Sonia with Rides R Us had reached out and asked whether a list of folks had renewed yet, Mr. Sneed being one of them, and then that was the point that I was unable to find an application on file.
And this might be for Mr. Sneed, but when did his employment start with the company?
I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mallory? Thank you. Sounds like we have a question for you again, Council President Lurick and Councilmember Nichols.
And I was sort of thinking along the same lines as Councilmember Mangum, that you only talked about one person that you helped and their card. But can you speak to the other
The other individual, it was found out that those charges were not mine. And that is the reason why I was not charged with that person. So I'm only charged with one person.
So the charge is only for the one?
That is correct.
Okay. What about the discrepancy in the amounts? Is that also the same reasoning, or?
That is correct as well.
Okay, okay. And then one more, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering if are these the only people that you worked with? Or did you work with other people that you didn't have any issues with?
I worked with other people and I never had any other issues.
Okay.
Those are my main people that I worked with.
Okay,
And I was a supervisor over their house.
okay.
Okay, Councilmember Nichols and then Councilmember Mangum.
So were you driving taxi as a full-time job?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have any other employment, or was that it?
That was it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so from the way that the report goes is that you had told your employer that you had license for taxi, correct?
That is correct.
When did you start working for that company?
About a year and a half ago.
So in 23,
Yes.
around? And so had you had the taxi license in 23?
No, I did not.
Okay. So you'd been driving without this license for almost
Year and a half.
2 years now. Okay. So, what was the time frame or the span of what the record or the report was? Because you said they said there was 2 victims, but it turns out there's only actually one that you were really culpable for.
Right.
How long was the span of this activity where we were having this discrepancy?
They said they originally started in 2020, and then 2022 is when charges were brought.
Okay. So while I was up here, I was looking at my Amazon account, and this is no, fault on you or anything. But as I'm looking at it, I have multiple cards on file, and it asks me which card specifically, if the one card doesn't work, which card I want to pull this from.
That's correct.
And so, was it actually just like drop down and it just goes automatically to
Yes,
the next
and
card, or?
If you go get a prepaid card and put it on there and put that as your number one card that you're paying with, and there's no money on it, it'll skip and go to your next card.
Okay.
Because that was one of my problems was I did have a prepaid card that I would use for online purchase.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Sneed, I have a question for you. When Mallory was talking, she mentioned it was both online and then local vendors.
That was for the other one that have been dismissed.
Oh, that was for the ones that
Yes, that $3,000 that was
second
dismissed.
person.
Because the participant in question bought a bedroom set from Chad's, and that's where it was from. And he was getting charged every month through Chad's.
Okay.
But apparently, they're not supposed to do that.
Yes. Okay, so in your statement says that the person wanted to use your Amazon account or your DoorDash account, whatever account, they wanted to use your account to get away from fees.
Correct.
So when you went to court and these charges were brought against you, how did you differentiate between your charges and their charges?
I just, because I have no proof either way, that, whether those are my charges or not, I could go through my history and say, well, this and this and this. But other than that, it's just a list of numbers. I don't know who the delivery was for or anything, because sometimes I would have stuff delivered to their house for DoorDash myself, for my lunch or dinner, whatever maybe at the time of day. But also, I have no way of differentiating, so that is the reason why I just accepted it all and took it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Once questions are finished, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Sneed, I'm looking right now. I'm a little confused at your testimony. I'm looking at an account that you had pleaded guilty to. It's got your name, it's got the time period, 11/02 to 2020 to 5/14/22. It says to make payments on his own and his girlfriend's rental accounts without permission or authorization. So you pleaded guilty to using that credit card on a local account on a regular basis, is from what I read from this.
That wasn't the case. They must have the reverse because, like I said, it only came to $1,500 of change, and that's mainly due to Amazon and DoorDash.
Well, this is one that says you pleaded guilty to.
Okay. Because that was over $3,000, so.
Okay, Councilmember Mangum.
It seems deceptive to tell your employer that you came to the city and you applied for a taxi cab license and you had no taxi cab license for almost 2 years. And then upon the time of doing an audit of who actually does have their taxi cab license, now we're forthcoming with the fact that I have these charges and I have these issues and I actually don't have a license. So having this license certifies that you are able to drive and be a carrier and take people up and down these roads. And it also ensures a bit of insurance on your part. So for about 2 years now, you've been driving people back and forth on our roads without this insurance and without this certification saying that you are justifiably operating this vehicle with people, with these patrons. And I have sympathy for it, the situation and whatever had happened. I know we got to do what we got to do to get by, but there are certain things that we just can't do. And when operating to that degree of this falsehood to say, I already have my taxi license, but then you actually don't, if you would have gotten in an accident or someone was harmed, it's a bigger situation than just the fact that, somebody might be 5 minutes late getting somewhere. I work in the financial industry and I look at people who are exploited all of the time because they're elderly or whatever the situation is. And it's something that I just can't stomach. I don't like it. And there's an excuse for any and everything that we do, whether right or wrong. And so that's how I feel about this situation. I know you want to make a motion, and so I'm going to allow you to do so if we're there.
Are there any other questions? All right, Councilmember Mansfield, sounds like you're ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'm one of the fiercest proponents of these appeals. I think gainful employment is a critical element in reintroduction into society. And I also think that it offers an important service that I know is difficult to staff. That being said, at worst, we have a deliberate exploitation of a vulnerable adults who ride in these taxi cabs every day. At best, it's a lapse of judgment where after the first time you saw it use the incorrect card, you should have said, you have that on there anymore because I can't keep making this mistake. That was compounded by continuing to drive without a license. And so for that reason, I would move for denial of the appeal as outlined in agenda item 6.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Mansfield and a second by Councilmember Mangum. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mansfield?
Yes.
Mangum?
Yes.
Cheatham?
Yes.
Lorick?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then, sorry, but you won't be able to do that right now. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 7 is a public hearing, Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program Year 2025 Annual Action Plan, public hearing and approval. This time has been set aside for the council to receive public comment from the proposed on the proposed CDBG Program Year 2025 Annual Action Plan per the CDBG Citizen Participation Plan. A written public comment period began on December 13, 2024 and concluded on January 16, 2025. This public hearing will provide an oral comment opportunity for the plan. All feedback will be incorporated into the annual action plan. Following the public hearing, council may wish to adopt the plan, including any comments received, and authorize submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents, subject to legal department review. Christine, I declare the public hearing open.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Blatt and members of the City Council. My name is Christine Howe, and I'm the Grants Manager for the City of Pocatello. I'm responsible for the administration and management of the city's Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program, which is an annual federal entitlement program administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. As described by the mayor, this public hearing is the oral comments opportunity for the city's program year 2025 annual action plan, which begins April 1st, 2025 and concludes March 31st, 2026. All CDBG entitlement communities are required to submit an annual action plan at least 45 days from the start of the program year. This action plan serves as the strategic plan for achieving the goals outlined in the city's 5-year CDBG consolidated plan that was adopted by the City Council. This action plan is year 4 of the 2022 to 2026 CON plan. The action plan projects reflect the priorities established in the CON plan, including housing, public services, public infrastructure, public facilities, and planning and administration. The city has estimated the program year funding to be about $350,000 with an anticipated $25,000 in program income. In order to identify specific activities that would meet the CON plan goals for 25, the city's CDBG Advisory Committee conducted an application process beginning in September of 2024. This included a technical assistance meeting, submission of statements of interest, final applications, and presentations to our CDBG Advisory Committee. At the conclusion of this process, the Advisory Committee voted on the recommendations for funding, and these recommendations were included in your packet as the PY25 proposed budget. Activities that are recommended include our lead hazard control grant match, the city's renewal program, PRT tickets for homeless persons, case management services for homeless persons, after-school programming, case management for persons with disabilities, dental services, and emergency social service assistance. We're also able to include sidewalks and ADA ramps and public facility work at the youth homeless shelter, as well as our fair housing and grant administration activities. Per the city's adopted citizen participation plan in accordance with HUD requirements, we've posted these documents for a written comment period of at least 15 days, and we'll conclude our public comment with this hearing tonight. Copies of the recommendation were made available to the public at a variety of locations throughout the city and on the city's website. And our comment period was from December 13th, 2024 and concluded January 16th, 2025. The public participation period ends, as I mentioned, with the oral comment period tonight, and any comments received will be incorporated into our plan. To date, I've received no written comments. Following the hearing, council may wish to vote to approve the documents and authorize submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for review and approval. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Paulson?
For the, it says City of Pocatello, agency name, Renewal Rehab Loan Grant Program. It says the request is $85,000, but then the committee recommendation is $84,958. So why only $42 decrease there?
Sure. So thank you for the question, Councilmember Paulson. We proportionally reduced the public service activities first. Those are the sort of competitive applications we receive from our nonprofit partners. And after we came up with those recommendations, we backed into the number for the renewal program. So we had to cut off a few pennies to make sure that it came out to the $375,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Christine? Okay. Oh, Rick. Sorry, Rick. Gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, many of the our considered amounts are roughly half of what the agency asked for. My concern is, will half the amount accomplish what is needed, or are we going to leave them still short of being able to accomplish what they want?
Thank you, Councilmember Cheatham, for the question. Typically, when we ask for these applications, we ask the applicants to explain if this will either fully fund the program or be an expansion of their services. A lot of these are expanding services or filling kind of additional needs. They will still operate their services, but they just won't be able to reach as many clients. And several are, potentially up, on in vulnerable positions in terms of being able to provide their programs. So as you noted, for example, for the St. Vincent de Paul Social Services, they'll work with what we can give them. They typically run out of funding very early in the program year because there is such a high demand for those funds. So if we were able to fully fund them, they would just be able to provide more services. But here, as you mentioned, they're essentially only able to provide half of what they've requested.
Okay. Council President Lurick?
Just kind of following up on that, is it also possible that they can, once they know what the amount is that they are going to get from CDBG, that then they can find some other funding source to put together to be able to complete whatever the project is? And is that information that they provide to you, or do you encourage that? If it is a project that is kind of a finite thing that requires a certain amount, and it's not a case of just giving less services, it's either you can do the project or you can't, would it be, but your money isn't going to, or CDBG money isn't going to cover the whole thing, then are they required to explain how they would come up with the rest?
Typically, we don't require that unless it would be a critical component of completing the final project. For example, the Bannock Youth Foundation for the shelter repairs, we were only able to fund $8,000 of the $20,000 in asks, but those were broken into priority project areas. So we'll fund the top priority project, and they would need to seek additional funding to be able to complete those other needs on that facility. But almost every applicant, when they present their budget, they have other grant applications out there. They are seeking other funding sources. We can only provide a very small portion of the need funding for these nonprofit agencies.
Just to follow up, if I might, is it ever the situation that somebody, if they don't get the full amount from CDBG, that they just can't do the project, and then you don't give them, the portion that you were going to give them, or they have to turn it down because they can't?
In recent years, we haven't had that issue, but if there was, say, a project they couldn't complete, we do progress reports, and then they would return the funds and we could reprogram it to another need. And so this year, we want to be able to, continue to fund the renewal program, for example, so we may provide additional funds to renewal if someone were to be unable to do a program and have to return the funds. We just reprogram it into a priority need identified in the plan.
Okay, thanks.
Super. Any other questions for Christine? Okay, thank you, Christine. You did say there was no other written correspondence.
Correct.
Madam Clerk, do we have any written correspondence in your
No,
office?
no additional correspondence.
All right, thank you. Then we'll look for any testimony supporting the application. Any testimony uncommitted to the application? Any testimony opposed to the application?
Nikki Tyson, General Delivery, Pocatello, Idaho 83201. Thank you very much. I oppose this based on constitutional law. Under the Fifth Amendment of our Constitution, it states that no property can be taken from us for public use without just compensation. And under the First Amendment, it states that, because I've been at these hearings multiple times and have seen where some of this money has gone, to private entities or even religious organizations or churches. We have no just compensation back. I'm all about if somebody needs help, they can go to proper resources. This is socialism. The fourth article of our Constitution guarantees every state in this union a Republican form of government. We come here in our nation, we are an independent nation. We declared that independence in 1776. And people coming to our country come with the understanding that they're going to come here and work in an honorable trade. That if they want and need help, they go to their family or their church. It's not the government's role. They can go to a bank. There's other opportunities and organizations that can help. It is not the government's role to be big brother pockets. Like I've said before multiple times at these meetings and at county level, we have people that can't even afford a place to live, a water bill, or food to eat. Mayor Blada is just at the store last night and spent $60 helping 4 other people. I'm tired of seeing elderly people starving in this town and young families who don't have enough food to eat. Homeless people in this town, children homeless in this town. This is socialism. We are not a socialist democracy. Don't shake your head. It states right in our 4th article, we are a constitutional republic. If you don't agree with that, you're in the wrong nation. We're in the greatest threat we've ever been. The decisions made by this council are acts of treason, sedition, insurrection, and tyranny, and corruption and robbery. If you don't agree with our Constitution, you took an oath to support, should be uphold, obey, and defend to the very laying down of your life if necessary, like my family have done since the Revolution. My scouts have been shot, so have my sons, for you to have your freedom and to sit at that desk. And it's to uphold and obey our law. We're a republic. We're supposed to keep each other in check, so we maintain the sanctity of our country and our laws. That freedom and independence to have your own home, to have your own business, to have enough food to eat. That's why America used to lead the world under that law and as a Christian constitutional republic that you just pledged allegiance to. This is a mockery. I appreciate all true service. For you to shake your head no was a huge affront to me.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
The name of Jesus,
Any
stand
other-
true to what
thank
God
you.
put you
Any
on
o-
earth to do. And bless you with a sacred U.S. birthright.
Any others opposed to the application?
Out of Salt Lake for European Union.
Okay, I want to be very clear. There's nothing here that's violating the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. And so the CDBG program's been around for a long time, and I want to make sure that that is out there in the public. So, Christine, is there any rebuttal that you might have?
I'll just remind the council that, as you stated, the city has been a CDBG entitlement community since 1997, so we're preparing this annual action plan in accordance with the HUD requirements that govern those federal funds. All of these funds need to meet a national objective, which we achieve by helping our low and moderate income populations through the CDBG program. And you've noted the social service programs here that are providing grants and funding to serve our beneficiaries under those HUD requirements as well. Our intention is to submit this plan February 15th in accordance with the HUD guidelines, and then we await to hear if we receive funding from the federal government once approved through the budget. So that timeline sometimes extends beyond February 15th. And any changes in the plan that exceed 25% of the budget will come back before the council.
Thank you, Councilmember Mangum.
So these funds will go to assist those who are homeless, those who are destitute, those who are unable to find housing, those who are hungry, and all of the other situations that were mentioned before, correct?
Yes, so 100% of our funds go toward that LMI program beneficiary benefit, which is our low to moderate income residents, many of whom you've just described.
And where do these funds derive?
They're from the federal congressional budget annually. They're approved, and then they use a formula to determine how much the city will receive.
So, in all fairness, we are not taking money from the pockets of people in Pocatello, but this money is coming from the federal government to assist people here in the city of Pocatello.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. With that, I declare the public hearing closed. Council, this item is before you. How
Mr.
do you
Mayor?
wish to yes, Councilwoman Lyric, Council President Lyric.
I would like to move that we approve the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG Program Year 2025 Annual Action Plan. Do we need any signatures? No, as presented.
Councilmember Cheatham has his hand up, and I'm assuming it's for a second. I'm not,
Oh.
oh, we didn't mean
He
to have
says
it
no.
up. Okay,
Second.
thank you. We have a,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
before voting, I have comments I'd like to make.
Okay, we have a motion by Council President Lurick, we have a second by Councilmember Paulson, and we have a comment by Councilmember Mansfield.
There are regular charges against this council of the violation of the Constitution, which, as Mayor pointed out, are both baseless and outlandish. But to use the opportunity to oppose during a public hearing a program that is specifically designed for the most vulnerable in our community is an affront to that time, and I find just a poor waste of everybody's time in this room.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Council President Lurick, a second by Councilmember Paulson. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Lorick,
Yes.
Cheatham, Paulson,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, council, I know agenda item 8 comes next, but I'm going to take a little bit of privilege, and I'm going to jump down to agenda item 12. We have quite a few people here,
Yes, sir.
that I would like to do this very quickly. And so that they can go about their business. They're welcome to stay, but I think their entertainment has been probably full tonight. So that being said, agenda item number 12, resolution changing the name from Bonneville Community Park to Purse Park. Council may wish to adopt a resolution granting a request by the Bonneville Neighborhood Association to change the name of Bonneville Community Park to Purse Park, effective immediately.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that the council would adopt a resolution granting the request to change, or by the Bonneville Neighborhood Association to change the name of Bonneville Community Park to Purse Park, effective immediately.
Second.
Oh, man alive. I got 2 seconds. I'm going to let Aubriana figure that one out. I have a motion by Councilmember Mangum and a second tied. You figure it out. Councilmember Lurick and Councilmember Paulson. We're going to see who her favorite is in just a minute. Who was louder?
Mr. Mayor?
But before we do so, Kim Purse is here, Idaho Purse's son, and I would like him, if you would like to, just take a minute and address the council.
Yeah, thank you, Council. First, I'd like to say, my name is Kim Purse. I'm Idaho and John Purse's son. My mother sends her regards. She's 98 now, as you know. And before I left the house, she said tonight, she says, baby, I would love to come, but it's very, very cold, but tell everyone hello. Anyway, in support of the park, I'd like to say thank you. But, my mother and my father were intricate parts, fiber of this community. They've always believed in community. They've always believed in family, and most of all, they always believed in inclusion of every human being. And the neighborhood where I grew up in, and we grew up in, and friends here, and family, extended family, grew up here too. And I could go through every name in the community there, and I still see kids come there and play like we did, and grow up like how my mother grew up, with everybody with different names and maybe speaking different languages. But, that being a beacon, and I think that made me very happy to hear about that and know that would be a beacon, people would feel welcome. To have intricate churches in that whole area, to have people come there, to still see kids laugh, hear them laugh and play, to know it was a community center, to know that it was a rec center, to know it was like it hosted free clinics, and my mother and father belonged to human rights commissions and so on and so forth. But the embodiment of that, to know that. So it makes me feel very proud. I know it makes my mother very proud and my family very proud. So I can say a lot of things, but thank you. That's, I know my dad would be really, really happy, and my mom would be very happy because they believed in that. And if anyone needed help, if anybody needed any kind of assistance, my mom and dad were the kind of people that offered that. And I've always tried to do that. My mother also, this morning, we were having coffee, and she reminded me today that my grandmother was the first custodian here in Pocatello. She used to clean at City Hall at that time with 6, 7 kids at home. So I thought that was kind of funny. We talked about that, but that was my grandmother. So anyway, that's all I'd like to say. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I might just say, and maybe I'm speaking for the council or not, they may disagree, but I don't think so. I can't think of a better family to have this honor and be able to have this named after him and for the rest of time. This is absolutely the Pierce family has been absolutely an incredible beacon for our community. And so please, if you would, give our love to your mother.
I will do that.
We appreciate all that the Pierce family has done for our
Well, thank
for
you
our
very,
community.
very much,
It's
Mayor. Appreciate it.
absolutely
Thank you.
incredible.
Thank all the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Before you clap, hold on.
Oh, we have to vote.
We got to vote. I don't know what they're going to do yet.
We might
That's
vote
why I
no.
wanted to say what I wanted to say before the vote. We don't even know who seconded it yet. We're going to find out in a minute. We have a motion by Council Member Mangum and a second by Lurick or Paulson. Up to you.
Mangum,
Yes.
the person that I heard only Lorick.
Oh.
So we'll do Lorick.
I win. Well, what's your vote?
My vote is yes.
Okay.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, and please extend our love to your family. Yes. Yeah. Now we can. Very, very well deserved. So thank you. With that, we will move back to agenda item 8 as a grant application, Idaho State Historic Preservation Office Certified Local Government Grant. Council may wish to approve submission of the FY 2025 Certified Local Grant application to the Idaho State Historic Preservation Office in the amount of $13,000 with an in-kind match of $13,000 in administration general support. The proposed project for this year includes updating the National Registry for the East Side Downtown Historic District and relist the district on the National Register of Historic Places, and if awarded, authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move to approve agenda item 8 as outlined.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mangum and a second by Mansfield. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, grant application, Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation, grant Simplot River access. Council may wish to approve submission of a grant application for the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation for the Simplot River access trailhead in the amount of $35,000 with a required 20% match of $7,000, and if awarded, authorize acceptance of the grant and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review. Funding for the required match is available in the Science and Environment budget.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we approve agenda item 9 as outlined.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by we have a second by Mansfield, a motion by Mangum, and a second by Mansfield.
We got him.
They do that all the time. They're twins. They look alike to me. So, Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield.
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10, grant application, Idaho Parks and Recreation, IDPR 2026 Recreational Trail Program, RTP, grant application, Upper City Creek Trailhead Improvements. Council may wish to authorize submission of a grant application for the IDPR 2026 Recreational Trail Program for the Upper City Creek Trailhead Improvements in the amount of $68,000 with a required 20% match in the amount of $17,000. And if awarded, authorize acceptance of the grant and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review. The total proposed project cost is $85,000 and funding for the match amount would be funded through the city's general fund.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we approve agenda item 10 as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Member Mangum and a second by Council President Lurick.
Mr. Mayor?
And we have a comment, yes.
I think Christine wanted some additional language in that, didn't she, to
Yes.
talk about any other match sources?
Other sources.
She did. So is that part of your motion?
I was the second.
That was my motion.
Was that part of your motion, the other?
Yeah, let's add that. Christine, if you could specify what that is. I remember what it is, but just so the people at home could know.
Mayor, members of the
that we're
council,
not just
Christine Howe, Grants
blowing smoke.
Manager. We did receive a donation to contribute toward that match, so we'd like to ensure that the motion was clear that the funding for the match amount would be funded through the general fund and additional match donations.
Okay.
Let's amend it.
You
Let's amend it.
second, you're seconding Christine. You're the one that has to make the motion. Is that a sufficient for?
It's fine. I think there's a good enough record.
Okay, there's a good enough record on
Awesome.
that.
That works for me.
It does.
It works for our attorney, it works for our
It'll be
clerk.
noted as amended.
Okay,
Amended, thank you.
thank you. Aubriana, after all of that, would you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, grant application, Local Highway Technical Assistance Council 2025 LHSIP grant application. Council may wish to authorize submission of the grant application for the Local Highway Technical Assistance Council 2025 LHSIP grant application for the Highline Flandreau signalization project in the amount of $166,000, and if awarded, authorize acceptance of the grant and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review. The total project cost is $1,798,000 and requires a 7.34% local match in the amount of $132,000, which will be funded through Fund 70.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I would move to approve agenda item 11 as outlined.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Mangum and a second by Councilmember Paulson. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Paulson. Yes. Cheatham,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 13, engineering services agreement amendments for WPC Phase 1 improvements. Council may wish to accept the recommendations of staff and approve amendments number 6 and 7 to the owner-engineer agreement for WPC Phase 1 improvements, increasing the total amount under the agreement with Keller Associates Incorporated by $87,315 for additional management and design services to include a maintenance building, electrical upgrade, and an arc flash study at the water pollution control facility. And authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes?
I would move to approve agenda item 13 as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mangum and a second by Councilmember Mansfield. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Cheatham.
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, piggyback bid acceptance and wildland engine purchase agreement. Council may wish to approve the following pertaining to the purchase of a wildland engine, and if approved, authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review. A, approve a piggyback bid of the City of Boise's co-op contract with via Mountain Home Auto Ranch and purchase one 2025 Ford F-550 cabin chassis in the amount of $72,046. And B, approve a purchase agreement of Sourcewell contract number 020124-SEW for a custom-built wildland engine with Sea Western emergency vehicles in the amount of $185,909.07, including change orders up to 10%. Funding for the purchase has been reserved in the Fund 78.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Councilmember Nichols this time.
I move to approve agenda item number 14 as listed.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Nichols and a second by Council President Lurick. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Nichols,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Cheatham,
Yes.
Mangum,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 15, on-call services agreement for task order number 4, sewer flow monitoring. Council may wish to approve task order number 4 to the collection system on-call services agreement with sensor for completion of the sewer flow monitoring in support of the collection system master plan preparation for a total contract price of $101,090, and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents, including change orders up to 5% of the task total subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we approve agenda item 15 as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mangum and a second by Council President Lurick. Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Cheatham,
We lost him.
We lost him. Okay, we lost him.
Continue.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 16, professional services agreement work order airport. Council may wish to authorize execution of a professional service agreement work order with Aurora in the amount of not to exceed $288,461.65, and authorize the mayor's signature on all pertinent documents subject to legal department review. Services provided under this work order will be design, bidding and construction administration of pavement maintenance on runway 17-35 and taxiway A. Work will be funded with Federal Airport Improvement Program, AIP, and state grant funds and budgeted airport passenger facility charge, PFC, funds, and is contingent upon grant award.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would move that we approve agenda item 16 as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Member Mangum and a second by Council Member Paulson, if I heard it right.
Yes, sir.
Aubriana, could you please call the roll?
Mangum,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Lorick,
Yes.
Mansfield,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 17 is items from the audience. We have one signed up, but it states that she's here to talk about the CDBG program, and so we have no items from the audience because the item is already on the agenda. So with that, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, I
We
did
are
sign up.
adjourned. Thank you.
Comment. I did sign up.